Well, welcome to Conversations with Dr. Harriet and our special guest, Pastor Juliette Davis. Hello, how are you?
Hello, hello. It is such a pleasure to be with you. You have always have a way of connecting with your audience and reaching people with real messages. So it's always a pleasure to be on the show with you.
Well, for those couple of people, those maybe two or three people who may not know who Pastor Juliette Davis is across this world, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I am a native of Washington, D.C. I have been traveling for a number of years, but most recently I reside in the Richmond, Virginia area. I am a graduate of North Carolina A&T State University. Shout out to
Yes.
all of the HBCUs. My background professionally is in communications and public relations. But I've also been in ministry for the last 30 plus years. And most recently, in the last 6 years, my husband and I pastor Destiny Empowerment Ministries, which is located in the suburb of Richmond, Virginia. And we have a beautiful daughter together, Jillian, who is 23 now. My goodness. So she is into adulthood, adulting, and all of that good stuff. But she is a business owner in her own right and is doing some great things for the kingdom as well.
That is so awesome. Awesome. So I have on there, as they can see on the ticker, all your contact information. We asking everybody to make sure to reach out to you, to follow you on all your pages and all that good stuff. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Our topic for today is the power of gratitude. The
Mhm.
power of gratitude. And I want you to, first of all, let you explain what the power of gratitude is, and then we'll go ahead and talk about it some more.
Sure. So let me say this, Harry. Well, how I got to this topic is that probably for the last year and several months, as a nation, we have been going through any number of challenges. And people are dealing with the pandemic, they're dealing with the loss of loved ones, they're dealing with the change in our economy, they're dealing with social unrest, and how all of that, on top of everything else that they may have already been going through, right, is compounded. And I realized that one of the things that kind of keeps us anchored, if you will, is gratitude. And so I began to research this and discovered that there is power in having an attitude of gratitude, or there is power in gratitude. So, what is gratitude? Gratitude is a state of being thankful. It is a state of recognizing not that everything is perfect and everything is lining up the way you absolutely want it to, but you are able, with that measure of gratitude, to look at your surroundings and determine that there's still some things for which I can be thankful. Now, of course, because I am a pastor and because of my faith tradition, I believe that you have some things that you most definitely can thank God for. And that in having that state of mind, there is some benefits that come with having an attitude of gratitude. And I'm not just talking about positive thinking or the power of positive thinking. I'm talking about some stuff that will really change your perspective. And so we're going to talk about that today. What is the power of gratitude?
I love that. Well, I remember that on Oprah, for those of us who were Oprah fans and still Oprah fans, but I remember they had a guest on, and I never had even thought about being grateful or even having a grateful journal or writing down anything about being grateful. Growing up, I grew up in church, and so we just always were just taught to be grateful. Be grateful that you have that orange for in that bag for Christmas. You may not have a lot of toys, but be glad that you got that little fruit bag and nuts for Christmas and a little doll. So just be grateful. And so because somebody else doesn't have what you have. So that's what we were just grown up to be, just feel grateful for everything. But as you know, like I said, once Oprah did the session on being grateful and keeping a grateful journal, it just actually did bring it back to just
Mhm.
reality. Wow, just the thought of every day we walk out of the house and we're able to really walk out of your house. able to get in your car. You
Right.
know, you're able to drive, you're able to see, you're able to feel the sun, you're able to, if you're going to the grocery store, you have money to go to the grocery store. Just being
Mhm.
grateful for every ounce of everything. So tell us today, for those of you, those are the people who may be listening who don't really know how great they should be grateful. Tell them a little bit about, what they should be doing right now, or how you feel they should be doing.
Well, the first thing that I was going to say, you actually hit upon it, and that is to consider or count your blessings. Most of us grew up with that kind of saying in the back of our head, count your many blessings. I think it's a song, name them one by one, count the many blessings, see what God has done. And I believe that there's actually some merit to counting your blessings. Many of the things that we have to be thankful for, we have grown so accustomed and so familiar with those things that we just pass them by on our day-to-day lives, and our focus is shifted on something else, that we don't take inventory of the things we have to be thankful for. So that first step is really to consider or to count your blessings. And I don't mean the big things, because sometimes we have a way of quantifying the blessing. But I really want you to think down to the minute level of what you have to be thankful for. Because here's what I do know, that what you might consider to be a small thing or an insignificant thing is a huge thing to someone else. Many of the things that you listed a few moments ago when you talked about getting up to walk and having, a reasonable portion of your health and strength, and going to the store to buy something because you have some money to buy. You may not have all the money that you like, and you may not be able to buy everything that you want, but there is some level in which you are able to purchase something, and for that, you ought to be thankful. And so starting with that really does help us to begin to assess what all we have been blessed with. I am convinced that especially during this pandemic, that things have slowed down for us because we needed to take inventory of the blessings that we had, the things that we took for granted, the life that we took for granted. Now we're in a place where we need to say, you know what, I may not get along with that loved one the way that I like, or I may not feel as though, we're always on the same page, as we say, but I am grateful that they were born. I'm thankful that I have them as a family member or a co-worker or a colleague of some sort, and really just begin to take inventory, not just of your life, but also of your relationships. A movie that comes to mind as we're talking about this, Harriet, is the movie with I can see his face now. It's a Wonderful Life. And
Oh,
in
yes.
the movie, he was about to commit suicide and really regrets the day he was born. And this angel shows up and begins to show him his life. And when he recognized all of the people that he had an impact on, and the people who he was able to help in some small way, and in the movie in some large way, he recognized, wait a minute, I have a lot to be thankful for. I was instrumental in doing these things. And if I were not born, if I were not here, if I were not in that place at that time, these things would not have happened, and these people's lives would have been impacted in a very adverse way. And so counting your blessings in terms of the things that you have, but also in terms of the relationship, because blessings are not just tangible things. That's
Right.
another pitfall that we've, gotten trapped in over the years, is that we think he who wins the most toys or has the most toys wins. And the truth is, you can't take any of that with you. So there's some blessings that you need to count that have nothing to do with material things. And that is the stuff that we need to focus on, especially now in this season.
That's right. You know what? And even in our marriages, Pastor Juliet, we were just being grateful even for little things.
Mhm.
We talk about, well, our mate may not be doing everything perfect. Like we talk, what is it, the 80-20 rule that they have?
Mhm.
They may
Mhm.
not be doing everything. So we need to be grateful for that 80%. even though the 20% drives us crazy, right?
Uh-huh. Right.
Because, there are a lot of people who don't even have that 80%. Mine may not be doing everything that yours is doing, but then mine
Mhm.
is doing some things, vice versa. So we just need to be grateful, and we need to tell I think we need to tell our spouses and our kids, and our coworkers and
Mhm.
people that we're around, share that with them, that you are grateful that they are in your life, and even grateful of what they bring to your life.
Oh, yes.
Person
Oh,
may not even know how special they are. Just like you may
mhm.
be the person that you see as soon as you walk in the door at work, that may be the guard or the receptionist or whatever. And they always have a wonderful smile on their face.
Mhm.
And that you may not have felt the best when you came to work, but when you came in, you saw that person. Could be even the greeter at church or whatever. And but to let them know. I think if you let them know that how special that is, that when I see
Mhm.
your face, it just makes me feel so much better. And I'm grateful to have you in my life. I'm grateful to see you every day. You don't know what that could do for that person.
Right.
The person who brings you coffee or who makes the coffee for the break room. I
Mhm.
don't know how many people are on their jobs still and how they're doing with COVID, but there is usually a person that does that.
Mhm.
So just letting people know that how grateful they are, you know, for you, for the things that they bring to your life. I think that's important too.
Oh, yeah. And the thing is, if you think about it, the people who are most grateful are the ones who you are more inclined to be a blessing to.
Right.
So, as a parent, I mean, you can think about it. When you give the child that is always grateful and always thankful for the things that you've given them, then, in your mind, you're like, wow, that was such a great experience. I'm going to give them something else. But the child that's ungrateful, woo, that child, you find you are less inclined to give them anything. Why? Because they don't show gratitude for the things that they have been given. And again, back to the faith platform, when you are thankful to God, He says, in everything give thanks, for this is the will of Christ Jesus concerning you. That you are to give thanks in everything. Does that mean everything is wonderful? I keep saying that because I think sometimes people want to dismiss it by saying, well, I don't have anything to be thankful for, or my life isn't going the way I would like. Yes, but in that situation, there is a reason to give thanks. And if you could find your way to that, then guess what? You will be able to see that this is something that really changes me on the inside. Like your disposition when you get up in the morning is different when you are grateful than somebody who wakes up with a chip on their shoulders complaining about everything that's not right in their lives. Your ability to handle the capacity of a day, whatever the day holds, is so much greater when you are grateful than when you're not.
That's true, so true. And even, I mean, all of us have something to be grateful for, that we did wake up. We did open our eyes. How many people didn't open their eyes up, but
Right.
went to sleep and never woke up?
Mhm.
So that's grateful. I know every day, probably, I think every day since COVID, that's the first thing I do is whenever I start my prayers, I mean, before anything, that I'm so grateful that God has covered my family,
Mhm.
with from COVID. And so I pray that every day, that even just sometimes during the day, it may not be a full prayer or whatever, that I'm not, getting on my knees and
Mhm.
crying out to God or
Mhm.
whatever, but I
Mhm.
am saying that thank you, Lord.
Mhm.
I'm so grateful that you have protected my family. When I see what's going on in India and I see what's going on around the world and the people who are suffering, then, it's to me, I'm like, thank you, Lord. I thank you that I'm grateful. I thank you that I was able to, be very fast on getting my vaccination. I'm thankful for, that I went to the grocery store and I came back out without COVID, that I
Mhm.
was, so I just think about that's something that all of us should be grateful for. And even those, who have lost somebody during this time, that, of course you miss them and you're sad that you miss them, but then you're grateful for the life that you had with that person.
Wow.
I'm
And
grateful for the time. that
Yeah.
I was able to spend with that person, and
Mhm.
I'm grateful for the laughs, and I'm grateful. And so instead of thinking about all the sad things of missing them,
Mhm.
just turn it around to be grateful for the time and just think of the great memories. I know when I lost my mom, that's what I would always tell people, that I think about all the funny stuff.
Mhm.
She was a comedian, didn't know she was a comedian. She was a church missionary, everything, but she
Mhm.
didn't know she was a comedian. She was hilarious. So I always think about little funny stuff that she did anytime
Mhm.
I get sad. And I'm grateful that I have those memories. A lot of people may not have those memories.
Right.
So again, I think turning around different situations that, oh, I don't have anything to be grateful for. Yes, you do.
Mhm. Yes, you
You can
do.
always think of something. And like I said, even if it's just, I'm able to wiggle my fingers.
Mhm. Right.
I'm
I'm
able
able.
to put
Mhm.
my own makeup on. I'm able to go to the bathroom by myself, that
Mhm.
nobody has to take me to the bathroom.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so much to be grateful for. And I think that if we get that in our mind, and then, just every day, that it's going to make your life brighter.
Oh,
You're going to
absolutely.
smile more. You're going to feel better, which it 10 turns around and makes your health better, because you have a better, outlook on life. What do you say about that?
A couple things. One is that it reminds me of the fact that we see with our mind, but through our eyes. So our eyes are like cameras. They basically just convey the image to our brain. But our brain's job is to interpret those images. And so that's why people who have bulimia and other eating disorders, when they look in the mirror, they see something different than what we see. They see themselves fat, even though we see them very thin. Why? Because it's in their mind that is interpreting the image that they see. So when you talk about having gratitude and the power of gratitude, what you see will determine how you interpret that. So I may look at a glass and it may be half empty. You may look at a glass and say, "Oh wow, it's half full," right? It's all based upon what? Your mind. So that's why Romans 12, one of my favorite scriptures, that says, "Be not conformed, but be you what? Transformed by what? The renewing of your mind." And sometimes, here's what I want your viewers to take hold of today. Sometimes life circumstances have a way of making you grateful so that you are able to see things differently than you saw them before. If you've ever had loss in your life of a home or a car or a job, the next time you get any of those things, guess what? Your mind interprets it as, wow, this is something I can be thankful for because I know what it's like to lose these things. And now that I have them back, boy, am I grateful. So, again, transforming your mind. So, what are you thinking? Because what you're thinking is having an impact on your ability to be grateful. I know one of the things that is probably one of my pet peeves, if you will, is an entitlement mentality. Like somebody owes you, right? Something. Somebody owes you something. And the truth of the matter is, no, you're not owed anything. So when you walk around with that chip on your shoulder that you are entitled to this, and then when you don't get it, of course, then you're upset. Then that changes your ability to be grateful because you think that it's something somebody owes you. When in actuality, you ought to be thankful for what you have. So that's one thing. And then the other thing that I thought about when you talked about being grateful is the fact that, we have power in our mouths. The word says life and death is in the power of your tongue. So you can frame your future with what you say out of your mouth. And so our faith says what? I can speak those things that are not as though they were. And so even though I could have a relationship that is on the rocks, busted, crumbling, we might not even be speaking. But in my conversation and in what I say out of my mouth, I am confessing that what? That one day in the future, that relationship is going to turn around and God's going to heal that relationship. I'm going to do my part to help that relationship be restored. But because of my faith, I am able to say, even though it's not the way I want it right now, it's going to get there. Because why? Because I have the power to say it. And when I say it, it gives me something to focus my faith on. If I were negative, a Debbie Downer, always had something bad to say, always critical, always seeing something wrong, then guess what? That's what's going to take over my ability to be grateful. But when I know that I have this, and this is just the beginning, this isn't the end, and that after this comes some more good stuff that I can expect to see in my life, then I can begin to be thankful and what? Celebrate what I have. That's the attitude of gratitude, to celebrate what you have right now.
That is so good. And when you talk about even repairing, being grateful for what you have while you're working on everything else. It may not be the best. You may not have the
Mhm,
best marriage. You may not have the best kids. You may not have, the best friendships or relationships with family. But just being grateful for what you have and still working on
mhm.
your relationships. I love that. That is so good. Well, you know what? Also, Dr. Juliet, well, I'm calling you Dr. Juliet. I tell you,
It's
for
fun.
those of you who may not know, Pastor Juliet has been in my life for, gosh, 20 so or more years. And she's been a guest on every platform I've ever done, whether it's the television show or radio show back in Richmond, Virginia.
Mhm.
Shout out to Richmond, Virginia, or even the radio show I have now that's out of Orlando, Florida. But she's always been a part, our ladies, women's chit chat that she's been a part of. And just, I always know anytime I'm having a conference, I can always depend on you to be there, and shout out to you as far as being an amazing conference speaker for those of you who are looking for conference speakers. But I just want to say really quick, I just wanted to say I appreciate you for
Oh,
always being so supportive. I know I can always call you, and you always have a good word. Okay, so I did get that out the way. But what I wanted to talk about really quick was, people are not grateful. I don't think they're grateful enough because they're comparing themselves, and they're comparing what other people have. And, that's been on my mind. Just in the last couple of weeks, that has just been so much, just God has just been giving me so much on that, to stop
mhm.
comparing ourselves. We're not grateful, for our marriage because we're looking at Pastor Juliet has this wonderful marriage, and you have no idea what's going on in Pastor Juliet's life. Oh, she just looks so fabulous. But behind the glam, what's going on in her
Mhm.
life? And so just use you as an example. But I think we're not, we need to be grateful for what we have because we don't know what other people are dealing with. You look at our new thing that just came out this past week, that Bill and Melinda Gates. He's one
Mhm.
of the richest people in the world,
In the world.
and
Mhm.
so, they have so much money, but money couldn't save their marriage. So you're looking at, oh, they have so much money. Oh, they're so lucky. But apparently, they were not happy in their marriage, and they have enough money to have a counselor follow them around the house and make you like each
24/7.
other,
Mhm.
to do everything for you. So we know that
Mhm.
definitely don't look at somebody else's financial state and say, "Oh, I envy them," because you don't know what that money has done to them. They look at the lottery winners, who most of them are miserable and have horrible lives, and you're thinking, "Oh, that's going to change my life."
Mhm.
No, it's not. Be grateful for where you're at and what you have. So if anything else comes to you, then that makes you even more grateful,
Mhm.
right?
And this is the number one, I think, issue of this day and of this generation is the the detriment that comes from comparison. And I think it stems from the fact that, what, we're on social media. And of course, what, we're looking at the pictures, we're hearing the stories, we're on TikTok and we're on all these platforms, and people are showing us what I call the highlight reel of their lives. You don't know what else is going on behind the scenes, but what they show you it's not deep. What they show you is what they want you to see. And so if you're basing your assessment of their lives on what you see on social media, you are indeed only getting a fraction of the truth. And so with that, I say to you that comparison is the number one enemy to gratitude. Because if you're looking at what someone else has, obviously with envy, you're looking at what someone else has, then that's automatically going to shed a negative light on what you have. So here's how we got to deal with that. What I have is what I'm grateful for. Now, how can I work what I have so that it gives me, the return, and that I can begin to tap into my purpose? Tap
Uh-oh.
into
That's
my
a whole nother show.
whole other show.
You
Tap
have to
into
come
my
back for
destiny.
that.
Right, right. Why? Because what you're saying is what he put in me is authentic enough and important enough that he put it in me. Then that means that you have the opportunity then to use what he put in you to be able to build on that and create something great. But if your disposition is one of comparison, then what? You're trying to be somebody else, and that person is already taken. So what
That's
I
right.
often say to people is be yourself because everyone else is taken. So what's authentic about you? What has he put in you? What is it that you bring to the table? And then let's focus on that. But that whole comparison spirit is awful. And guess where it is? It's even in the church.
In the church.
So watching social media now and looking at that and saying, I wish I had this, or I wish I had that. Well, you know what? Or I wish I could sing like that, or I wish I could preach like that. But guess what? What about what he gave you? That's a lack of gratitude, right? Because what he gave you was important enough that you should be willing to build and work that. I think comparison is like the shortcut.
That's right.
You know,
Absolutely.
I don't
Well,
have to do the work.
our time is ticking. It's going by so fast. I'm watching the clock over here. We only have a couple more minutes. But tell us really quick about even keeping a grateful journal, how important that is.
Yes, yes. Journaling is so important. It gives you the ability to record not only your thoughts and where you are, your disposition, but to write down the things that you have to be thankful for. So a grateful journal is just a compilation of things that you're grateful for. But if you make it a discipline every day to write down the things that you're grateful for, you would be surprised. On the days when you're not doing so well, you can go back and look at your grateful journal and see reasons to give God thanks, to be grateful. And so I think a grateful journal is a great exercise in making sure you keep your heart in the right place, because that's what we're really talking about. We're talking about the condition of your heart.
That is so good. And just keep it beside your bed. And it can be anything. It doesn't have to be a fancy journal. Just find something to write on and just that you can keep. So we only have about a minute and a half left. Will you close us out by encouraging our people about being grateful?
Yes, absolutely. Listen, we just want you to know today that every one of us has a reason to be thankful, to be grateful, and that literally will give you, at the cellular level, an ability to literally be encouraged. You'll actually feel better when you are grateful. And so begin each day with thanksgiving and gratefulness. The last thing I want to tell you is that think about it from this vantage point. All the people who said you wouldn't make it, all the people who had counted you out, your success ratio is 100%. Because why? Because you're still here. And that alone is reason to be thankful. Use that as your launching pad and set the tone for the rest of your day.
I love that. Wow, this has been so good. I can't believe how fast we went by. So you have to definitely come back. And there were so many different things. I mean, I actually wrote down a couple of topics that we can cover next time. There was so many different things that came out of this. But just encouraging everyone to know the power of gratefulness will change your life. So thank
Mhm.
you, Pastor Juliette, for being on our show today. Conversations with Dr. Harriet. Her information is on the ticker. Make sure to reach out to her on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, and just let her know what you thought about today's show. And if you have a question, she'd be more than happy to answer. So thank you again, Pastor Juliette. We love you, and we
Awesome.
love your family. Praying for God's blessings over your life.
Thank you. It was good to be here. Thank you again.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see everybody next time. Conversations with Dr. Harriet right here on the Power Network. Thank you. Bye.